Do me a favor, Benjamin. Hold up the front page of the Denver Post. Okay, hold it down a little bit. House Ponders, Indian mascot bill. And generally speaking, what that is about is there are a lot of high schools in town that have Indians as mascots. Overall, you have kids that are in high school.
One son in high school.
One son in high school. My son is getting ready to go to Arapahoe.
The Warriors.
The Arapahoe Warriors. You don't have any kids.
That I know.
Go ahead, say, that I know of. Isn't that the oldest line from the single guy? That I know of.
It's funnier when a woman says it. It's funnier when a woman says it. That's true. I've seen it.
So, what are your thoughts about this bill that's going? Well, I don't want to make this overly political.
Yeah, no.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'll jump in. I mean, I haven't read everything about it, but I mean, it's. Just change the name. What's the big deal? You're talking about no offense, we're talking about a high school tradition. Oh, we've been the Reds for all these years. We've been the Indians for all these years. And think back to the glory days of the '80s when the whatever. Just change the stupid names.
The climate has changed, and but in a lot of these cases, they're small towns, small communities that have identified themselves by these names. Strasburg is one I saw last night on the news where they're just vehemently against change. And Eaton is mentioned. I mean, it's one of the most successful baseball programs they've ever had in the state. It's funny how they identify with the name, and it's almost they disassociate it with its original meaning. And so, without working with Indian and Native American council on your name, because Warriors for me is a different connotation than skin color. You know, as the Washington Redskins have found out. Warriors for me, that's a very complimentary term.
It's a mentality. You're a warrior,
But you don't have to use the logo, do you? Can't like the movie Braveheart. I'm not suggesting you have a picture of Mel Gibson. But can't you have a different logo and still call yourself Warriors?
Well, yeah. I mean, you can try anything. The idea is it's as simple as this: if something you're promoting is insensitive to many people, maybe you should go with something that won't be. And Troy's point was the best because it's not like the dudes in Eaton are like, oh, we hate Indians. They're not saying that. They're just like, that we are the Indians. Like the name of the team, they could have been the Cardinals 50 years ago, but they won all these titles. Oh, we're Cardinals. It's just a name. It's just letters to them, really. But so I see why they're like, oh, we're not being offensive.
Well, part of it, I think they don't think they're being offensive because they're not in communities with Native Americans. That's the really odd part. Most of these schools have Native American nicknames that have no Native American population. So how would you know how they would feel? So I think you would owe it to yourself, at least as we trend this direction. How do Native Americans feel about it? Because they're not in these communities really anymore. That's what's really odd.
Them. I mean, I don't know the answer to this, but are there some Native American communities or Native Americans that play high school sports that have to go to Eaton and deal with fake war chants from fans and things like that?
I'll be the first one to tell you this. My wife, she's Cherokee. Okay. So our kids are Cherokee. I'm not, but I'd be willing to bet we're one of the few people in our neighborhood that have Cherokee blood. I don't. Does it offend me? No, because I'm not Cherokee.
But does it offend her, though?
It really doesn't offend my wife. And my kids aren't overly familiar with it, but it's not for me to judge.
That's the problem. It's not really, it doesn't affect me, so I don't know how to...
I think the only people that should be allowed to truly have an opinion about this, are people of that descent. As someone who is Jewish, and you're Jewish as well, I'm not going to say the word, but it begins with the letter K. If that was the name of, and it rhymes with hike. If a team decided to name itself the Cherry Creek whatever, I think I'd be offended.
And then you think of Redskins. I mean, Mike Wise, the former columnist for the Washington Post, went to numerous Indian reservations and interviewed the people about the nickname Redskins, and they were all offended by it. Naturally, it's kind of like that word used. I mean, I'm not trying to rank insults here, but I'm saying if a name of a team is insulting to many people, just change the stupid name.
And the other thing that really bothers me, and now I'm probably showing how I feel about this, when people will come out and say, well, they got their casinos.
That's awful.
They got the casinos that give all kinds of tax breaks.
That's awful.
So why can't we have our school name?
That's so not.
As part of this
What's
bill,
wrong with you?
as part of this bill, in fairness, they are saying they would offer to reimburse them in terms of the cost of changing the logo from uniforms.
Oh, wow.
To, but again, it's a very, very emotional issue because a lot of these towns are small rural towns that have long identified themselves with this.